just pay attention to the grain, and when you're holding the board, just make sure when you hold it, like I said on the bag, if you decide to hold the bag like this, and just to give you a little introduction to the board, make sure when you're holding it, don't, obviously you don't want to hold it way out here. You want to give the kicker as much room to work with. So if you got your fingers way out here and you're wondering, why do they keep hitting my fingers? Just think about it. You want to make sure you give the kicker enough room, because everybody's not going to be as skilled at first. Even though I do still hit people's fingers from time to time, it does happen. So when you're holding that board, try to give the person enough kicking room, but still but you still want to be comfortable holding the board, because you don't want to have it way out here, and you're wondering, is that board going to fly up and hit me? So just try to, something comfortable, maybe like probably about an inch and a half is what you want there. So you're just basically holding it, and you got your palm. You want to rest it in the palm of your hand, right there. And you actually, on some brakes, I would put my thumb on the back here. You want to put your thumb on the back, give you a little more resistance, and that resistance towards the back, towards the board breaker, actually gives them a little easier chance of breaking it, because you're giving them more resistance to work with. And one thing I point out, like with the bag, you don't want to give. On the board it's a little different. You don't want to give, because this is a little more difficult than the board break, the bag technique. So on this one, you really do want to keep your arms locked on this brake, because if you're giving, it's gonna make the board breaker a little frustrated, because they're going to think it's because of them that they're not breaking the board. But actually, when someone's fudging the board and moving it back and stuff like that, it's actually the board holder that's actually causing the problem. So when you're holding the board, it's a little different. You do want to be locked in, lock them arms. But some people do give from time to time, and you might get a little nervous and skittish, someone kicking at you, so that you may have a time where you flinch or something like that. And so just try to watch yourself. Try to try not to be too nervous when you're holding those boards, because if you have a nervous board holder, that's just going to make it more difficult for you. So that's just a couple of things to watch out for. One main thing too, like I pointed out with the bags, do not hold the board in front of your face, because sometimes when they break the board may go into 3 pieces, and you do not want that third piece flying and hitting you in the face. Even though most of the times it does break into 2 pieces, it may come out of your hand, and you don't want it to hit you in the face, even though you are going to have to hold the board, you probably will have to hold it in front of your face on some techniques. But when those times do come and you have to hold those boards for those techniques, you want to make sure you're not looking straight ahead. Just turn your head to the side, and just kind of look down or close your eyes, but make sure that the board, whoever's breaking the board, sets up the board where they need it, so that you're not sitting here, waiting for it, and then you move it or something like that. So even though you're not going to want to look at the board, make sure you kind of, even though I said don't look away or something, but try to make sure you know exactly where it's at, and not, drifting off of the board or something like that, because we definitely do not want anybody getting hurt, even though we are breaking wood here. So from time to time, you may encounter an injury, or your hands may get too sore or something like that if you're breaking these boards very often. We've got our adult board here. Like I said, the same thing goes when you're holding the kids' board. Like I said, you're going to have a little less room to work with, but just make sure you have the board set up with the right, the grain and all that kind of stuff.